the board team for Rockcastle County Schools commits to review processes and experiences to identify and direct improvements, continuously define and work toward long-term goals which serve all students of the district, make each decision based on facts and the best for all students, listen to each other and speak freely, work together, support each other and not surprise one another, discuss board deliberations to point of mutually agreeable resolution based on factual information, support the majority's decision, projecting board unity towards shared goals for continuously improving district-wide student learning, operate without personal or political agendas, respect one another, agree to disagree respectfully, delegate implementation to superintendent and education team, and to respectfully remind each other of these commitments.
Thank you. Welcome. Item 2 is adopt the agenda. Ms. Carey has just said that we have an addition. It would be under operations and actions. It would be 4R. Would you like to tell us what this is about?
This is an agreement for therapy services that will be provided on a contractual basis. We just received the contract after we had already posted the board agenda.
And this is with
ARC.
Okay. So that will be added. That's under we have that.
Yes.
Okay.
Move to approve the agenda with the addition.
Good. Got a first and a second. All in favor? Item 3, we have a presentation by DECO for the middle school project. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here. So last month we presented, and at that time we claimed that we were somewhere around 15, maybe 20% along the way. We're going to now claim we're somewhere 20, 25% along the way. So progression, we continue to move in a good way. Still a ways to go. So again, want to flip a table. We can wait a few more months. If you see a color you like or things like that, we still have a lot of time to tweak. There are 3 major submittals that we will make to KDE for this project. The first one being the schematic design. That's that there's an overall vision cast and we like the direction that it's headed. The second one is we like how it's headed. Let's prove that it works. And so in that time we'll prove that it works and work all the bugs out of it. And then the third one will be we've prepared drawings for contractors to bid. So we are now approaching that first one. So I would ask you to consider that once we're done here, if it pleases you what you see today, or you at least think we're on a reasonable track, that we could go ahead and submit to KDE for that first one. And we would need your minutes to reflect that. But that's a discussion we'll have at the end. But if I can figure your keyboard out here, yep, we're going to be in good shape. So we've abridged this presentation a little bit. We cut some of the fluff out of the front end. And we're just going to get down to the nitty-gritty today, if that's okay. We'll recap quickly. This is the site plan of your campus as it stands. So this is what you already have, nothing new here. Number 1 being your existing building. Pay attention kind of the placement of number 1 versus number 4, which is the football field. You'll notice there's a gap there. Our new design is going to fill that gap. Kind of notice number 10, how the parking lot works. Etc. But of course, you're very familiar with this campus, so don't need to explain it much more beyond that, I'd say. And then again, we'll one more time present kind of how the sun works around this and where it hits on your existing building. So you get some midday sun at the back of the building, and then the evening sun kind of kicks around and hits that lower side of the building. And then this is us. We're going to continue to prove that we're doing our due diligence in studying the numbers. I'm going to be very transparent. So where the plan currently stands, you were provided a budget from your construction manager, and now we're trying to design to that budget. We've got kind of a little slush of about 4,500 square feet. So our current plan is about 4,500 square feet over where the construction manager has asked us to be, but we're not alarmed about it at this time. We're going to continue forward, and we'll explain a little more. But we have this overall program, so this comes from, your enrollment versus what KDE tells us to do, and we remedy all that and then come out kind of with numbers at the end. And then, of course, we have things like circulation and hallways and mechanical rooms and janitor's closets and all those things that aren't necessarily defined perfectly. So we have a little bit of kind of wiggle room, let's say. But at the end of the day, we roughly know what this building should project at, and we're really, really close to getting it to hit exactly where we need it to. So that's so far so good. Overall number, plan per the books, 90,510 square feet. So that gets us to our floor plan. And this is where we are at the moment, very similar to what we presented last month. I don't think there's any major stunts. You just should see that it's progressing, and that's what, of course, we want to happen. So the south side of the plan, if you kind of see, there's like a pinky red block. Let's see if I can use this mouse. Okay, here we go. So this will be the main entry down here. So we're going to have two entries. We're going to have the main entry, and this one will have the secure vestibule. So this was the one where, you know, you'll have the airlock will be able to control traffic as it comes in. We'll have a reception space here that is controlled behind glass. And then all of kind of the principals and vice principals and those folks, all the administration happens in this block. And we've colored them the same color because they all kind of go together. Once you're approved to be a visitor or a student in the school, you can pop through. And we think Miss Ballinger had influenced, hey, let's make the library the focal point. So we made that the first thing you see, you know, a nice glass storefront, and you see the library. And then laying in behind that is the cafeteria. So it's open kind of concept cafeteria, and all the green is like all the cafeteria use. So it's the cafeteria itself, it's the kitchen, it's the storage, it's the pantry, you know, all of that kind of stuff down that way. If you come back here to the kind of the main central hub here, the decision point, we'll call it, this is also the exit out. So, you know, we've widened that and made it a little more spacious because we want people to come in slowly. Let's control those, but in the need of egress, we'll widen it and let people exit, you know, at greater expanse. And we've got the SRO, and we discussed it last month, but we haven't had him check it to see if he likes it. But we've placed SRO here to where he can have a really good view of this whole process without being right in the middle of it. So he would be placed here. He has direct access out if he chooses. He has easy access to get to the vestibule should someone be trying to get in that we don't want to get in. We think it's a nice central space, but we'll see what he thinks. He would also have access to conference space, and then kind of this whole hub over here becomes occupational therapy, speech therapy, FMD, Family Resource Center, kind of all those therapies and special uses. We'll cluster them together so that they can share resources like conference rooms and restrooms, etc. Then to this left side, in the orange, would be the new auxiliary gymnasium. So in white here in the center is the existing historic gymnasium. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. Okay. Okay, so the white one is the existing gymnasium. The orange would be the new auxiliary gymnasium. So it's the Gymnasium Auditorium kind of hybrid model. And we want to give that its own entrance here off the corner. So you're going to have two entrances into this building, two primary entrances, and we want to, you know, be careful how we design those, but we're pretty happy with how it's playing out so far. But for sporting events, you can shut the school down if you choose, either at this point or at this point, and just use it for sporting events and enter off of like a sports entry. And then moving on this direction, this becomes your daily student traffic. So to the right, blue as a rule of thumb is classrooms. So again, we're kind of using that model of 3 classrooms plus a science lab, we've tweaked it just a little bit, and we're trying to integrate the resource rooms into those hubs as well. But as a rule of thumb, we're trying to do these like clusters of 3 classrooms and a science room, and that gets you, you know, a team. In the brown is the band and vocal classrooms, and some storage that services those. And then in the pink down in the lower right-hand corner, those are computer classrooms. And we thought it would be fun, based on how the site lays out, that we could integrate like the press box and some of the media use into the computer lab, because computer labs are pushing, of course, toward more media and other technologies, and we could kind of double dip and in the evenings let that be used as the press box, and that is exactly centered on the football field. The big white block in the middle that we haven't talked about is the courtyard outside, so that the library and the cafeteria both have direct access out outside as well. So you can take your tray outside and eat if you choose. You can take a book outside and read a book if you choose from the library. And there's a good amount of surveillance on those areas as well. But that's the first floor in a nutshell. And then the basement which is a bit smaller in scale. It just happens down at the walk-in area. This is similar in script to last time. Again, the blues are classrooms and science labs. One kind of tweak is we've pushed art down here because we thought if we could push the art classroom down here to where it had a walkout access, KDE actually encourages your art classrooms to have outdoor access. So if we got it down that level, it would encourage that, and it would be really nice to have this covered pavilion area that we intend to use for concessions and athletics needs. It could double up and also serve for the art classroom to where they could break out and go outside as well. Green, we have some home economics, and we thought home economics could double as concession stands, and we could double up on some of these programs and maximize the square footage. So that's the floor plan in a nutshell. When we move forward, when we get somewhere into design development, we'll talk more seriously about storm shelters, but because this is a new build construction, the building code, it's actually not a KDE thing, it's a housing and building construction side of things need. They're going to require that we integrate a storm shelter into this building. So in the old days, when I went to school, you went out in the hallway and put a textbook over your head, or else you kind of laced your fingers and put it behind your head because that'll protect you from a tornado. Nowadays, they actually want a storm shelter in your building. But you don't just have to build a standalone storm shelter for the sake of building it. You can integrate it into the design of the building. So we're still working on this. We're not claiming that this is the solution. Someday we'll have a solution and we'll be proud and present it to you, but we're just not there yet. But we're looking currently at this area that we're highlighting in pink. The reason we like it is because it's single story, so that makes designing the structure easier. It saves money. There's not a lot of glass. So yes, the offices have glass, but it's not expansive storefronts. It's like single, narrower windows. Those are easier to rate for storm needs. And it has restrooms, which will be important. So we're currently looking at this area. We currently like it, and we'll continue to talk about it in future meetings. And then just to tell you where we are. So we've spent some effort evolving the plan. We've spent some effort working with the construction manager to try to check boxes and make sure we're doing things right. And then we've spent some effort on the outside, which we'll show you next. But before we move, your approval on this, and this is called the SEPTED. Your SRO may be familiar with this concept, and he'll be a part of this, but it's crime prevention through environmental design. And this will be that the building was designed sensibly from a security standpoint, so that we need to put bollards out to protect your front entrances. We need to landscape in a certain way to prevent folks from trying to ram your building, and we need to think about surveillance and things like that. So we're working on it. It's coming together. We like it, but we're not done. So we're going to continue to tease this, and in a few months we'll nail it. This is an update of the plan as we are proposing it. So you'll notice that the previous number 1 has expanded. It grew like an amoeba over to the right. And as it kind of stretched, it left like a bit of sinew in the middle. And that's where the buses will go under, and that's the courtyard area. But this is pretty close to the script that we presented last time, no major surprises. Just please note, number 10 is your existing parking lot. Number 12 will be your new parking lot, and we're gonna try to encourage teachers and folks to park at number 12. It'll also be a great new parking lot for basketball and events that you have at that kind of auxiliary entrance off to the left there. All right. So first unveiling of what this building could look like. You'll notice to the lower left, that's that new parking lot we're talking about. We don't have all the striping installed. We're still waiting on that. But you'll notice kind of the new entrance there. So we're playing a tricky game. You want a nice entrance to attract folks to that sports entrance, but you don't want it to overpower your main entrance because you want your daily people to know to come to the main one. So we used like the most incredible architectural trick we've ever used, and that is we made it more red. So a little bit red for the secondary entrance, a lot red for the main one. And that's where we're at. But you'll notice, so off that main red entrance, you'll see that a little canopy extrudes off of that. That will be your parent drop off. And so what we'll be able to do is kind of hook parent traffic around between the parking here where my mouse is going, and they can kind of hook around and drop off. And separate from that, buses can hook around and go through here and hook around, and we'll just keep them completely separate. And then the buses can go through, hook all the way around the back. There's some pavement here that you can't see because the building hides it, but it extrudes here out the back, and then the buses can go on about their way. So that's the plan there. And that's about all I got to say about that. And then this is the view looking the other direction. So this is from the football field looking back up. So a few concepts here. We're showing the other side of the entry. You can see the parent drop off up here. You see the existing gym kind of poking its head up through the building because it's a bit taller than our building will be. And that's okay. And then you see the buses kind of going through. And then this is the courtyard area here. So the game we're playing currently, and again, we're still working through it, but that we're using a lot of school colors outside, or a lot of grays and blues and reds. And then we thought, you know, once we move inside, are we going to be limited by that? Is the entire school going to be whites, grays, reds, blues? And it can be. Or is it okay that once we get past the threshold, that once you get inside, we can try some other colors? So we're experimenting. We don't know if we have the answer yet, but inside and in the courtyard, we're trying some other colors and seeing what happens. So you're getting a glimpse of the courtyard here. This is the covered area where you can come out with your tray or you can come out with a book. We just kind of took one roof line of fabric roofs and carried that through. But then you see football field here below, and new concept that we're working on is maybe getting locker rooms integrated into this new construction down here, so that you could have home and away locker rooms. They're separated, and that makes some sense maybe to get them down on the field level. And then here in the red, what we're hoping you'll do is allow us to paint that red, and then we'll light it, and it'll have like an ominous glow that'll intimidate the visitor side seating at night. So, but concessions, you know, selling t-shirts, all that kind of stuff could happen up in, we'll call that the concourse. So view of the main entry. So you see kind of very red for attracting your attention, and because you'd be surprised how bad people are at knowing where to enter a building. And there's a rule in architecture that says if you're so good at being an architect, you never have to use a sign because people know where your front door is, but we're not that good. So we're going to put a big sign here that says welcome or something, so to just help encourage people to know. Because what we don't want them to do is we don't want them banging on doors that we don't want them going in, or being confused about trying to go in the exit doors or whatever. We're trying to make it as clear as possible. Enter this tunnel, and this is where you're welcome. And then we're numbering kind of the drop-offs and trying to get that scale correct to where cars can queue up and drop students off. And we think a flag helps to make it look like a school and helps designate a front entry, so got that too. And in this one, we were a bit more moody. This is a very bad day at the sports entrance. But we thought, well, let's have some fun and, you know, let's use the mascot and, let's light that up and make something that people would want to take their selfie with, and we can have some fun. And again, use a little bit of red just so that everyone knows, hey, I'm allowed to interact with this. And we thought, if, you know, I should probably be careful saying this, but here we go. If you ever wanted to designate or memorialize a name on this, this would be the place to do it. But anyway, and then we tried to warm it up a bit with wood. So this wood kind of soffit wraps around back to the entry. It's kind of one move. You just don't experience it all at the same time. But the main entries kind of have the wood soffit that projects out. And then this one's brand new. It came out of the oven like 30 minutes ago. But this is a look at the kind of courtyard down the middle. So this has evolved a lot since last time. We had a challenge of, do you want to ramp this or do you not? And a ramp would make it so much easier to be ADA compliant and to get, you know, ADA child or handicapped child to the buses without trying to maneuver through entering the basement, going up an elevator, etc. And what we thought is if we do the ramp, it's actually an advantage because it gives us an excuse to retain and to keep the kids away from the traffic down here. So we've kind of set up layers of safety. It's what we're attempting to do. One is bollards, you know, to keep a bus from possibly getting up on the sidewalk or anything like that. And then we're retaining to keep activity up above the retaining wall so that you don't have, you know, some kid throws cornhole too wild and gets over in the street, and, you know, it would have to be a very calculated decision to come down this ramp, cross across the bollards, get into the lane of traffic. So we like how kind of contained and cozy it is. And we kind of like some of these social stair events and just some green space. And Mr. Clark's face is blood red and he's mad because he doesn't want to mow this, but that's all negotiable. we can work through. And we also thought, you know, we could, if it is an issue, we can get a zero turn up this ramp. So turf. We can turf it. We can turf it. And then we like this covered area here, and we aren't really showing this off to its full extent, but we'll get to it. But this has kind of developed quite a bit up here with seating areas and things up here that makes this space really nice off the library and cafeteria. There's a view of it just lowering it so that now you see kind of how the retaining wall and how you're kind of contained, so it doesn't feel like you're going to fall out into the street. So we thought that was an improvement since last time. All right, then this is the view from under that concourse. So you see there on the left, we can do some concessions. You can set some booths up. You got like a prime view of the field and just the experience. This is the final shot. So this is the same shot from last month. Major differences are we got the locker rooms in, we got more people in the stands, and now we have that Stranger Things-esque glow coming from that concourse, which we think is fun. But that is where we are at the moment.
Yeah, that looks great. Yeah.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Very exciting.
Looks great. Yeah.
Thank you. So
This is now my favorite part of our board meetings.
I
I'm forward to
know.
seeing you guys every Monday.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep it going. So you noticeably, the thing we're missing is interiors. And so that's where we're going next. So as I said, we're going to come back, change some things. We're going to measure, we're going to fix and tweak. But then the next major thing we're going to present is interiors. So the next batch of renderings. We have a library brewing, and it's just not ready yet. So it'll come next time.
Okay, explain to me again, you've already told us once that I've slept since you told us that, I forgot. The next process with the state as far as KDE, what do you do next?
Okay, so I just need your blessing and for the board minutes to show that you have blessed for us to submit for schematic design approval.
Okay.
And then once we have that, so it'll take your folks some time to get that in the minutes and send us the minutes. And then once we have that, we will assemble that with our package and we will upload that to KDE just to get into their system for the schematic approval. And because you opted into the House bill, it's a more informal, seamless process than it used to be, but we still want to check the box and say we submitted.
So this doesn't, you just need us to talk that we approve that. It doesn't have to be an actual vote for us to approve this.
No, we need to vote for the
We need to
motion.
vote, so we need to probably put that on our, amend our agenda to do that. If you need that for our minutes to reflect that, so.
And there's no.
I'm gonna make sure we're covering our bases so that you don't have to wait on us to.
If you like the general direction and think we're on the right track, it would be ideal just to go ahead and do it. There's no real urgency on our end. We could do it next month. But it would be nice just to check the box and then we can start evolving toward DD. So, but
What do you wanna do, Katie?
I think if we amend it, just to cover our bases, we could amend the agenda if you all are in support of that.
I think you can have a motion without, I mean, if you want to amend it, the agenda, you can, but I think you can just move a motion.
We could put it
And
under,
add it in
we
the
can make it
minutes.
as
Number 3.
under operations and actions.
I just
Can
took
we
the
do that?
3.
You can do it just, you can do it
Because
at
he was
3.
already on the agenda to speak
Mhm.
and to
Okay.
present.
Well,
Somebody just
I
needs-
think that everything looks great, and like I said, it's exciting to see see something, so,
Yeah, so if we make, somebody makes a motion and we
Yeah.
second that, then we can put it under
Under
3 and add it to the minutes.
well, let's do that tonight.
I
so
move
that-
to approve for schematics submittal.
Okay.
For a second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, it'll be in our minutes.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is I don't know if it's a question for you or Ms. Ballinger, but the new road and the new parking lot, is that all figured in our price or?
That's a great question. So the way it's priced informally is based on a square footage and then a number attached to the square footage.
Okay.
Because when it was priced, no one knew.
Sure.
So some of the nuance, we need to figure out, are we more expensive than the average school that prices out at that number per square foot, or are we less expensive? And we will get there sometime in DD. And then other options too is, remember, we can phase things, and that's a big meaty discussion we probably don't want to have tonight, but once we are working very closely with Codell, and once we get a bit deeper, we will know more detail and we can figure those things out.
And we're meeting as a group with DECO and with representatives from Codell and our team every 2 weeks and getting those updates just to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're talking about price and design and square footage and.
Then, and I see when you say phase, the construction process and how we have school with, while we construct, we figure all that out.
Right.
A little bit further down the road.
Right. And we've had some informal ideas we've pitched around, but I've slept since then too, so I would need to refresh. But, yeah.
We probably don't really know what we're gonna do with school. whenever we
Well,
start.
I accept
But
that
we'll figure it
fully,
out.
but,
Yeah.
We asked Mr. Clark, like, do you have a spare school we could borrow?
Yeah, right.
But usually doesn't work out that way, so.
I have several classes in the bus garage, I don't care.
The building, and again, I'm gonna speak a little out of turn because I'm not real prepared to answer that question. But the building does lend itself, like we have some breaking points here. There's maybe a potential that we could build this before any demo and then start the demo and build. It's achievable, I think, but.
Are we doing anything with the old vocational school at all?
We actually had that discussion
I
earlier today, because when you see this beautiful new building and then you see this,
It's kind of an eyesore. It's like, could we paint the brick or match it somehow? I mean, I don't know,
We
but I
agree,
see that.
and we noticed our team this morning when we all met, that we had those conversations as well, so I guess to say, I'm not sure, but we'll explore.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
The next on our agenda is operations and actions. I had a couple questions. I just wanted to make sure the, school clinic services, there's no difference in the contract from last year to this year. I couldn't find last year's contract, but I was just, okay,
It's the same contract.
same contract.
That's for telehealth services.
Yes.
Yes, with the hospital.
I just looked at those numbers of like how much they're reimbursing. I was wondering if there was any difference from last year with any of that. Anybody have any questions? And we also will have added 4R to that.
Yes,
Keep that
and
in
that
mind.
is for physical therapy, contract for physical therapy services to group.
And this is renewal.
And then on our mental health services, so that's the same contract also.
These are
Correct.
renewals.
So
yes.
Marcus, we had kind of talked about like, with this being such a need for kids, not having a contract with anybody else, but other therapists being able to be in contact with children through the day if kids need it, or what do we need to do?
Well, this contract is different with Somerset Mental Health this
Okay.
year than what we approved last year. So this contract does spell out that there will be a counselor full-time at the high school, academy, and middle school. So that is one change that we feel needs to be made, and that's reflected in there. As far as other agencies, so right now, board policy says that we have to seek out another agency in order to have that service. So it restricts to a contractual agreement. So we would have to seek out another agency, and then we would have to enter into a contract with them for them to come in and to be able to provide services. So that's something that we could do, but it would have to, that would have to follow that policy unless you want to change the policy.
I guess my concern is the overwhelming number, and there are so many children that are doing therapy at the hospital or with other providers outside of the facility, and if the need was for that contact,
Then board policy would require us to contract with that service provider, which we can do. But we couldn't allow them to come into school because that would be a violation of board policy unless we were contracted with them.
And our current clinic, one with the hospital, doesn't cover
No,
psychiatric
it's for telehealth services.
only.
Yes.
Only.
But as part of that, Dr. Callie can refer, and she does refer to Dr. Ladd at the hospital and other.
But the
other
counselors
providers.
couldn't get on telehealth and do anything.
They
At the
cannot
hospital.
provide, the way it's worded, provide services. So they can come in and observe, but they're specific, it's under our visitor policy. They could come in and observe, but they cannot provide services unless they have a contract with us. And you could have, this contract is not exclusive with Somerset Mental Health. So
We could have more
we
than
could
one.
have, we could seek out another agency, but we would have to do that, and we'd have to enter in a contract with them. You know, there's all kinds of, you know, you think about, therapists coming in. You know, we have students, we have 2,800 students. I don't know how many agencies that other students have outside of Somerset Mental Health, but it's a lot in this county, outside of this county. You know, we're looking at other hospitals, UK, that provide services. There's groups with EKU. There's counselors in Pulaski County that students see, therapists. So that would be overwhelming if we just allowed anyone to come in at any time and see any student. And I think that's why that policy is there, to prevent that disruption of the school environment. And then plus, we would have to have that agreement from that parent or that specific counselor. We'd have to have background checks for every one of those individuals. And it's in the policy, that's all laid out, all of those, and I can show that to you all, but all that's laid out, that is a requirement. And if we enter into contractual agreement, then that's all gonna be taken care of. But that's why that's limited to having that contract with that agency, because there's so many students that have so many services, and not necessarily just counseling services, other services as well.
Do you feel confident that Somerset Mental Health can meet our needs?
I think they are. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not saying that there's not, obviously there's people that choose to go with other agencies. Right now, what we're doing, I think they are. You know, we've expanded what we're doing too with, you know, Miss Angie and then Miss Rose and Miss Chelsea that are also seeing students that are our employees. And then on top of that, we've got our school counselors. So I think we are at this point.
So did we have any referrals that say were not completed by the end of school year? Like, did we have any kids that were not getting services that we thought needed to be getting services?
No, there are times when students are referred and that parent may decline services. Or that the agency may not be able to get in contact with that parent. They cannot see them until they do an intake. That's all part of the process. And sometimes, you know, like for instance, the end of the school year, we do online registration, which I'm gonna talk about in just a second. People put their phone numbers in. Well, in 9 months, those change. Sometimes they change multiple times. And so we have a hard time getting in touch with that parent to set up that intake. Sometimes that process does take a while. Now, our family resource coordinators, and that's in the contract as well, they assist with that. We went to homes, we've called, we do what we can to get that, to make sure that happens. Sometimes that takes a while. And that's an obstacle that you're gonna have no matter what, just in terms of, so, but I'm confident that we have a feedback form. That was an issue a few years ago with communication. We developed a feedback form. They use that, the receptionist fills that out, they send it to us, they send it to our counselors who are our point of contact. And I believe that process has improved.
So, I'm sorry.
Zana, I don't think that correct me if I'm wrong, but there was not a student that needed services that parents agreed to those services that we were not able to meet that need.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
And by expanding and expanding this contract to have one provider at the middle school, high school, and the academy, we're ensuring that somebody is in that building. So if an emergency arises, there's someone there that can cover that.
And they're not gonna be the only one in that building. There may be other therapists that come into that building from Somerset Mental Health, but there will be one there all the time that is assigned to that campus, academy, middle school, and the high school. And another change that we put in there that was not in the written agreement previous, but was an understanding, was that students will be seen regardless of ability to pay, and that's in there now. That happened before, but we just wanted to make sure that was in writing, and they agreed to that, and it's in there, obviously. So they'll see students regardless of ability to pay.
And so they are there all the time. Like, if you need them, they're there. Okay. So,
But-
just another quick question. So walk me through the telehealth. Patient just comes in sick, or a student, and then they talk to the nurse. Nurse does all her stuff, hooks her up, calls the doc.
Well,
And then-
and last year, well, there's a parent form
Yeah,
from
you're doing
Rockcastle
consent.
that we have to fill out, like always. Last year, we did a little commercial. We put that out trying to get people to understand that this form is there and if you want your child to be seen. So yes, that's exactly what happens. If a student comes in sick, a lot of times the nurse will just call the parent and say, this is an option, and get them to agree to that. A lot of times we have the form. Even if we don't have the form, we seek out that approval. See the nurse, contact, it's all, Brandon can talk more about the process in terms of how that's all
Just their telehealth,
set up.
some system you have, yeah.
It's an iPad and has a camera.
Yeah.
They can look in their throat.
They do all that, yeah.
Do all.
I just didn't know, I mean, cause you know, health is broad. Could it not include, I need to talk to somebody about my feelings?
Well, at this point, you know, Dr. Callie's office is who sees our students. They're her pediatrician office, and she doesn't have.
That was just a question.
Right.
Yeah, that was just a question, just kind of handing off on Anna's.
If they were able to support that,
Cause telehealth
we
might
could
be
do that.
a
You know, we could
easier
do
support.
that.
Yeah, okay, just a thought.
And,
You would just give one
that's
more
on,
avenue.
that would be on their end if she wanted to expand and if she wanted to, you know, go that route.
Cause it just says
That's
healthcare
possible.
provider. I know she's the current only healthcare provider, but if it was, and I'm way speaking out of turn for the hospital, but if we all chose to do this or some others, cause we have licensed clinical social workers, they're providers.
Right.
So there's others there that might be able to hop on
Yeah.
and help a kid versus, you know, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking,
Right.
Just thinking,
They're all
especially if
the same
they're,
avenue, yeah.
especially if they're already their student, or their patients.
And we could, you know, we
That's
can
kind of
seek that out, we can check, but we'd have to either change the policy or seek out.
Cause I think the only
Agreed.
thing on the hospital policy is making sure they're okay with it and putting other providers' names on there, cause it just says healthcare provider. And then at the bottom, it's just Callie, is the, Dr.
Yes.
Callie. So that would probably be the easier one versus doing something with another mental health.
But it gives a broader.
Yeah, and it may not be something that they want to do,
Possibly, yeah,
or,
yeah.
social workers, it's, their caseloads are heavy.
Very heavy.
So,
Only thing I would say about that, and I'm not a professional, but I think looking at somebody to determine if they have strep, and if they're dealing with depression, I think that's a totally,
telehealth is wide in psych right now. That's
even
where
for
it's,
children.
oh yeah. That's
See,
about all
I
they're
would have
doing.
more of a concern with dealing with any type of mental health issue over it'd
It's
be less
probably where it's most
personal.
widely used right now. I know that's strange, but,
That's so odd to me.
yeah.
As a
And
parent, I
Oh,
would
yeah,
have,
no, I
I would have a
understand that.
problem with that, I would
I
feel
see
more.
it the opposite, cause I need to look at you for anything like strep and lungs and that stuff.
Yeah,
And that you can kind of get it across from the emotional part, social emotional.
Hmm.
But no, I see what you're saying.
yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I would be concerned about that.
But just thoughts for another.
I think if we see that we're not able to meet the needs through Somerset, then I think we would support looking at other options, but if Somerset works and everything's great, just keep us posted.
That's the reason
and-
I asked if you were confident, because, I have no idea how many children, you know what I'm saying, I'm not in the school buildings, I don't know, and, I feel like if we were in need of more, I would hope that you would come and talk to us about that.
Certainly would, and we evaluate, that's why this contract's different this year than it was last, because we saw some areas where we needed improvement. And they've been very receptive to that.
And this does not bind them to them outside of the school system. Should they choose to go somewhere else, they can
No,
still.
they absolutely
Correct.
can.
Just wanted to
No,
clarify that.
That is
Yes.
an absolute service that we don't have to offer it, period.
Yeah, so if they wanna
But
go
we do
somewhere else,
that,
they could,
we don't
outside.
have to say that
And
at
it's
all.
a great service.
Oh, it is.
Absolutely a great service.
Right, and something that's critical right now.
Yes, absolutely.
So it, it's, they have been, Ms. Ballinger can speak to this as well, been very, very receptive and responsive to our needs.
Yes, they have, and when we contacted them and asking to expand, because we felt it was necessary to have a counselor in each one of the schools, they were very receptive and good. But we will definitely continue to monitor and keep you informed, and if that need arises and we feel like we need to further expand, then we can explore those options.
I had another question about 4P, the 5-year contract with KDC for the ILP. Is that normal for it to be 5 years?
But we went with the 5 years because of the price,
Okay,
because it was a much cheaper price to extend that, and the ILP is a state requirement.
I knew
You
that.
have to have an
I didn't know
ILP.
I didn't know if it had to be yearly, if you had it, or the 5 years, okay.
And we are really excited about this offering that they're gonna be able to provide for our middle school and high school students. And KEDC actually provides an employee that will monitor, and they will actually be reaching out to each one of our high school and middle school students and doing interviews with them and working with them individually. So it's gonna be a great expansion.
That is. Any other questions for operations and actions? Need a motion to approve with the amendment.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? 5A, review and approve the mileage reimbursement rate for the 22-23 school year. This is a quarterly thing, correct, Ms. Jenny?
It is actually an annual. Historically, the board has reviewed that annually. We do receive updates quarterly for the mileage rate, but in order to make the process of paperwork seamless for our employees, we have set a rate at the beginning of the school year. The rate is actually established by the state utilizing data from AAA. The rate for the first quarter has been designated as 53 cents. Our prior rate was 44 cents, so it's an increase to 53 cents, and this would be for fiscal year 23.
So the quarterly thing I seen was just what their overall for what they did
It
take.
is available. We receive quarterly updates, and if the board made a decision that you wanted to update that quarterly, you know, that is certainly something that we could look at. You know, if we had a large increase, you can see looking at the prior quarters that usually there's not a great difference. Usually it's a cent or two. So establishing a rate for the year has worked well previously.
Do you have any questions? If not, a motion to approve the mileage reimbursement rate.
Make a motion.
All in favor? Item 5B, review and approve the monthly financial reports.
Your financial reports we're wrapping up the fiscal year, and you'll see that that we're going to work on our sheet there and try to have it flipped for you next month. Apologize for that. But but you know, you do have your financials for the month ending in for June. We're in the process of closing the year. Looking back, you'll see that Fund 1, as compared to last year, we've had a slight increase there. Fund 2, you'll see that there is, as we ended the fiscal year, our federal reimbursement is falling into July, so our reimbursement is a little bit larger, coming in the next few weeks at about $1.7 million. So we just did not receive that by the end of June. So you'll see that Fund 2 has an outstanding revenue reimbursement there. Do you have any questions? Very soon tomorrow we'll be working on closing out the fiscal year. Very pleased with where we are as far as revenues, very much on track, or in most cases, some of the revenues for the fiscal year, the prior fiscal year, utilities, taxes didn't come in quite as high as we had projected, and the franchise tax, and both of those are up this year. So very pleased with those revenue areas. Any questions?
If no questions, I need a motion to approve the monthly financial reports.
Second.
All in favor? Item 5C, review and adopt a resolution declaring the official intent of board for reimbursement of capital expenditures.
We have worked with Compass to come up with a resolution. As you know, we will hopefully be entering into a project very soon, but at this time we do incur expenses as we're employing our architects, and we have invoices that we need to pay. This resolution, I'm just going to read this first statement here, declares the official intent of the Board of Education with respect to reimbursement of temporary advances made for capital expenditures related to the project to be made from subsequent borrowings by the Rockcastle County District Finance Corporation. And what this resolution does is I have set aside a project where I will record those expenditures with the intent that the project revenues will reimburse us for those expenditures. So we are not to the process of having, you know, an approved BG1. Also, the new regulations kind of changes that and makes it a little bit less formal. So we would like to the board to review this resolution with our intent to set aside these project expenditures that are reviewed as part of your monthly payments, to set those expenditures aside in a project and reimburse when funds are available.
Move to approve the resolution.
We're glad you understand that, Jenny. All in favor? Item D, review and approve the extend a kindergarten teacher position 1 year at Broadhead Elementary School. Ms. Carey?
Yes, so, this is really good news because our enrollment is expanding at both Broadhead and Mount Vernon. We're seeing, higher numbers of kindergarten students enroll. So as you know, our ratio right now of student to teacher is 23-1. So at Broadhead, we are over that cap size, so we need to expand that kindergarten teacher position for another year. We did this last year, and I'm just asking to expand that for 1 more year at Broadhead. And then if we see this to be a trend, then, then we'll come back to you the following year to ask for that to be a permanent position. So that's good news, our enrollment is up.
Is it just kindergarten or is the overall school population?
Currently, it's just our new kids enrolling. And I'm hesitant to make this a full-time position because, many families chose to keep their kids out of school during COVID. So is this just a rebound effect of COVID? So we'll just continue to monitor that, but we are over the cap size at Broadhead. And at Mount Vernon, which is next on the.
And this is
I think it's
already
gonna be a trend.
hired, right? There's already a person in place from last year in this kindergarten?
That was a 1-year
Oh, okay,
position,
so
so.
it'll open
yes.
again. This be the third teacher at Broadhead? Fourth.
So that would be
Wow.
4 kindergartens at Broadhead.
That's great. And Mount Vernon, this will extend it to 6?
Yes, so Mount Vernon, and I can go ahead and speak on that. On Mount Vernon, I have put it on here pending student enrollment. We still have several opportunities for families to enroll in kindergarten. And of course, we're not even back to school. We're not even to the end of July, and we're already within 3 students of being over. So rather than waiting till school starts, I would like to have the permission to go ahead and post a position if we see that we get to that enrollment break. Because we would hate for our youngest learners to start school, be in a crowded classroom, then us have to hire a teacher, and they've already met their kindergarten teacher, they've already met their friends, and then have to switch to a new classroom. I would like to avoid that at all costs. So we'll continue to monitor those numbers, but again, we're within 3 of being
That makes
over.
6 teachers there?
No, not 5.
5 kindergarten teachers at Mount Vernon. First is the approval of the position at Broadhead Elementary.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Item 5E is the approval of the position at Mount Vernon Elementary,
Pending enrollment.
pending
Yes,
the
pending
enrollment.
Move to approve.
All in favor? Item 5F, review and approve a kindergarten instructional assistant at Mount Vernon, pending the student enrollment.
Yes, and that is just the kindergarten instructional assistant that's tied to kindergarten, and as you know, state law requires all kindergarten classrooms have an instructional assistant present in that classroom.
So that is a requirement by the state.
It is, yes, for kindergarten and preschool, they must have instructional assistants.
So with the one with Broadhead that we just approved, that,
We have that position already currently hired.
okay, and that would just extend that one also.
Yes.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, I have to ask this, with these approvals, where does that put us with our numbers? Like, hiring a position, I know 23-1,
Mhm.
okay, overall, what is that gonna put us for the whole school, not just kindergarten?
The other classrooms are within their current ratios.
Okay,
So
so there's,
no-
it's
no
not a matter
other-
of moving teachers around to, okay,
Not at all. So
Okay.
teachers, the ratios within 1st grade through 5th grade fall within the 23-1. So then we would just be adding the kindergarten positions to divide those kids like at Broadhead. Instead of those kids being divided among 3 teachers, they would be divided among 4.
okay. So whenever those numbers are configured, kindergarten is set apart, they're not in with those ratios?
So we look at each grade level.
I mean, I'm talking about the overall school. You know, like when we do our numbers,
Like our our allocations.
Or allocation, yes.
Yes, so the
So we are still within the definition of what the board has approved for the allocations for those schools.
if we add these teachers. If we do
Okay.
not, then we would not be.
We would be low.
Yes.
Okay, that's what my question was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, 5G, review and approve a district special needs instructional assistant. Ms. Hubbard?
And this is just a need that, for special needs students that we have, just depending on, ARC meetings that determine needs or what an IEP says, just to have that extra support for some special needs students in the school. And it is a itinerant position to where if needs change, then we would be able to, move that person to where we would need them at to support special needs students.
So is this at the middle school or as needed?
It's, right now, it's at one of the elementary schools is where we're needing this person, but like I said, if needs change, we would have, be able to have that person move where the need was.
So this person could support toileting needs, mobility
Yeah.
needs, feeding, any, if there's medical needs associated with any student that has that, then this person could be there to support.
How many current positions do we have within the district that do this job?
Or there's not an itinerant position currently in the district. We have like our MSD units, we have one at elementary, one middle, one high that has special needs instructional assistants. Other than that, we don't have one that's just assigned to like a classroom or anything like that. And this person would be just assigned to help with those needs wherever that student
Not an
may be.
individual child?
Not necessarily an individual child or an individual classroom, just depending on where those needs were.
Who's been doing this before this position has been created?
Well, sometimes, like a kindergarten instructional assistant or a preschool instructional assistant may help with some of these needs, but sometimes we have students with more intense needs that needs extra support, and we're just needing, some extra support with some certain needs.
And we're seeing as students have enrolled and they're enrolling with these needs, then we're seeing that, we have to have the staff to be able to support them.
I will move to approve.
All in favor? Review and approve a coordinator of district programs position. Ms. Carey?
Yes, so this is a district level position that I'm asking for approval on to continue to support our district needs. COVID has really changed what we do at the district level and the reporting and all of our needs, and this position would help support that and allow us to better serve our students and better serve our teachers and principals. As I reviewed back just some historical data and previous data, in the year 2003, the Rockcastle County Central Office staffed a total of 35 positions. In 2003, we're currently right now in 2022 at 18 positions. So that was cut significantly, yet COVID really increased that workload. And as we've all discussed, the importance of us seeking grants, how wonderful that's been. And I don't know if you all have been watching on social media, but many of our teachers have gotten to participate in the Renaissance Arts Grant and have just gotten back from Washington. And that has been a phenomenal opportunity for them. But with that also comes lots of extra reporting and lots of extra work, and the grants are phenomenal and they provide wonderful programming for our teachers and our students, but that provides a lot of extra work as well. So someone that can help us, supporting us in that, and also seeking more because we want to continue to expand. And I think, Ms. Anna, you and I have had conversations about how much value that brings to our
Absolutely.
student programming.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. It's wonderful. There's a lot out there that we could bring in.
Do we think this will help ease the burden on principals, this position?
Yes, yes. So we've had discussions about student activity accounts, this role taking over some responsibilities off of principals for that. Also district facility usage, taking some of that off, and this role being able to do some monitoring that principals will not have to do. So if we can ease that burden and take that off, then they can focus on instruction and focus on kids.
Is that why you've, requested that they have a principal certification? Because they'll be
Yes.
doing some of those duties?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and they will also be, as we've had discussions, about equity and diversity and providing that, this person can also be in charge of that programming as well.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Item 5I, review and approve the second reading of the 22-23 KSBA policies and procedures updates.
Yes, so last month we did the first reading, this is the second reading of that, and we do not have any further or extended updates on that, it's just requires 2 readings of it.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Item 5J, review and approve amended salary schedule for the 22-23 school year.
I'm gonna let Miss Jenny, I'm gonna refer to Miss Jenny to give you the updates of a couple of changes that we found that needed to be updated.
Okay, and, we were looking at this and actually we meant to go back and re-upload once we got past our technical difficulties. We were having some new copiers installed, so we could not scan and color at that particular time, but time got away from us and we failed to do that. But you'll see on the first page of the salary schedule, there are no changes. On the second page, the position that has been approved this evening, you can see a slight highlight there, but you can't tell that it's yellow. The coordinator of district programs position has been added with the salary and extended days as noted. The second change on this page is on down, you'll see we have added a National Certified School Psychologist stipend.
That matches what a national board teacher, and if you recall several months ago at our board meeting when our national board teachers came and presented, they receive for finishing that degree and finishing those qualifications, they receive a $2,000 stipend, and we did not have that on for school psychologists, but that matches that same programming.
Can you tell them that comparison chart is in their board resources?
Yes, there is a comparison chart showing the National Board Certified Teacher Program and how that compares to the National Board Certified School Psychologist Program. And so you have that. Here's, I have it right here. So that rewards those employees for their extended learning and their extended qualifications, and this is what we want to promote. We want to promote the best in our employees. We want to encourage them to seek those extra certifications, because then that comes back and only better supports our kids. Helps us retain our employees as well.
We have 2 school psychologists, is that correct?
The following page would be our coaching positions. There are no changes on that page. On our classified employees page, the only change is as we began working with our salary tables in Munis, we needed to change a class code, and that was for the computer specialist. We needed to, it's the Munis grade, and it's a grade, it's just a project code within our salary tables. So we have updated that for you. And a class code change for, doesn't change anything other than the number that's in our Munis account. And we reflect those on the salary schedule, so we just wanted to be sure that we are noting any changes that we make. On the administrative secretary, we needed to change the class code to 7620. And again, this just correlates to our salary table in Munis. It does not have any changes in qualifications or the amount paid. On the following page, there are no changes. On the our classified employees paying into KTRS, we found that our formula did not update for our 2% raise for our occupational therapist, and the 2%, of course, would be applied to them as well, and we have updated that on our chart.
Wonder why it didn't apply to them.
Oh, it was a formula, and we just didn't catch it until we put it into the salary table. So we just wanted to, it obviously does apply to them, and we have updated that on your, salary schedule.
Move to approve the salary schedule as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Review superintendent's personnel action report.
You all wanna take a look at that and let me know if you have any questions. We currently have a Broadhead, principal position that is posted that we have not filled yet, that we hope to fill early next week. We have an RCMS math teacher that has not been filled yet. We have a couple custodian positions at the high school, some food service position at the middle school, assistant girls basketball coach, an instructional assistant at the middle school. At Broadhead, we have a custodian, an instructional assistant. At Roundstone, we have food service. At central office, we have HR manager and administrative secretary. In transportation, we have one full-time bus driver position that's posted. So several classified, but certified right now, all we have is one math teacher. And we're in the process of hiring that.
And the ones we approved tonight, positions. That will be posted. Item 7, department reports.
I've got 2 separate sheets in there. First one's just general what we're doing. Appart's container, they're coming this week. It's ready to go. As far as from our standpoint, they're gonna come do startup and train Mr. Whitaker. I know he's excited to get that going. He was on vacation last week. I gotta circle back with him tomorrow and find out when that is. I think it's Thursday, but I'm gonna try to be on hand for that at least part of the time too and see how that's gonna work. Exciting time for that. The big thing that'll be starting tomorrow will be phone system replacement. Of course, you all know we're putting all new phones in. Windstream will be here. We're gonna set up one phone in each school, make sure we can call back and forth to each school, call out, do all the things that we need to do before we start taking people's phones away. So we think that that will go well. It's gonna get us compliant. It's gonna just be better in so many ways. It's got a lot of features that we don't have now. As far as Mount Vernon, that's a long document. What Jerry tried to do in that, I think, was to give you guys a look at what % we were done with each different system that we're replacing there. Most everything is over 50. Job's going well. I think it's really progressed this week. I like what I'm seeing there. Really, that's about it. We're waiting on a fire damper. I think this week, by the end of the week or the first of next week, we're gonna get the makeup air units on that are on top of the roof, kind of get those guys that are working in there some AC. I'm sure that'll speed up the process too, because it has been hot in there, you know, how humid it's been this summer. So we're excited to get that done and wrapped up. And on the heels of that, we walked through yesterday and looked at cameras. Of course, the ceiling pads and tile have to be back in before we can do the cameras. Goal is to get that equipment in, get that installed before school starts too. So that'll actually be the last step of it, and hopefully it'll all come together and be ready to go.
Do we look for teachers to be able to get in before school starts and get?
Teachers should be able to get in the 5th. That's the goal. Well, after the 5th, of course, 5th will be in PD district-wide, but after that, hopefully on the 6th, they'll be able to roll in there and get the rooms ready. And I know they'll be anxious to do that and see what's going on. They've been out there all summer, so.
I've had a lot of people reach out to me because, what do they need to do if they need to get a hold of Mount Vernon Elementary? And so we might need to put something on their social media besides all of individuals putting things on social media stating what they need to do.
Well, we can
I've
actually
seen a lot
probably-
of parents, I mean, I'm sure others have
Right.
too, and parents, and then there's been staff members saying, well, do this, do that, and I just thought maybe collectively if we put
Mr.
something
Thomas
out
and
there.
Mr. Anthony have both been in the building quite a bit. They have been there working in the heat, taking some phone calls, I know, but what we can do with this new phone system, we can probably route those calls to a different location. So we may look at that tomorrow so that they can if they do decide to work, maybe we can make it ring both places.
Yeah.
That way they
I
get
think
to
that
go.
would be great if we could, just, it might keep parents from,
I'll definitely look into it, see if we can't do that. That should be doable, I would think. I'm not familiar with this phone system enough yet to know, but Danny Mink's pretty good, so we'll rely on him.
I'd like to, one of your pictures I was looking at, the green,
Uh-huh.
what exactly was that?
The green,
It was like did you all see the piping? It was John Deere
talking about in the
green.
mechanical room?
Yes, well,
That's just a paint on it.
oh, okay, I was like, what in the world?
Those,
I mean-
that's on the pumps, that's on the, pumps that circulate the water for the, hydronic loop. They're just green, that's just the brand of it, I guess.
I seen that and I thought, that's a weird color, I thought.
Those are new
for
pumps,
pipes.
that kinda surprised me, they're green, they're usually red. I think every other pump we have in the whole district's red, so it's probably a little different brand or something. But I think they're finished in there, those, that showed ladders and things still going on, but I think that's finished and cleaned up now, so.
It looks like a lot of work in those pictures.
It has
A
been
lot of
work.
work, yeah.
Like I told y'all last time, it's kinda gotten overshadowed by the excitement for the middle school, even for me, but, it's going well, and, it was a much needed upgrade, it was a good thing, and we got that project in right under the wire of everything, kinda inflation and all that too, so it's been a really good deal. The energy savings that we'll see, because, energy rates are gonna go up, are gonna be exponential from what we thought we would get, so
That's wonderful.
it's gonna be a good deal.
Thank you, Trina.
Look at Miss Sweet smiling when he says energy savings, she just grins.
Hoping anyway.
I updated the tally sheet that was in my notes, just to include the odometer mileage along with field trip and competition miles. If y'all wanna take a look at those, you can kinda see those numbers. Other than that, we're just, 8-hour updates is the big PD day for bus drivers. And that's a day that we're preparing for, getting ready for, getting our agenda together, to make that as good and a quality of a day as possible. And all drivers have to go through that, sub-drivers, full-time drivers, everybody has to do that day. So, it's scheduled for July 26th and I think August the 4th. So those are, we're getting ready for those. That's the big thing right now.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
And I just have a list there of various trainings and professional development opportunities that some of our teachers are participating in. Also just some current ongoing tasks, things that we're working on this time of year. One of those is what's called yo-yo data. That's youth 1 year out. It's interviews with students who have graduated and kind of seeing where they're at and what they're doing as far as jobs, or if they've went on to some higher education type things. So we'll have data from that after that's completed, probably more towards the fall before all of those interviews are completed. Special education exit data we're working on now, and then teachers' caseloads and scheduling and looking at student needs, professional development for staff. We've done some record reviews and just looked at strengths and weaknesses as far as with compliance with our paperwork. And then for preschool there, I have just a little table of just some tentative numbers from preschool registration. We'll still have registration screenings going on through probably the whole month of August until preschool starts on August 29th. So those numbers will still change a little bit too, just so you'll kind of have an idea of the number of students we have registered.
So we are still taking more students preschool.
So that struck me too, that Broadhead has 45 and Mount Vernon has 50.
Yes.
We just have one class at Broadhead.
Yes, so we're,
So we're keeping an eye on numbers and kind
Yeah.
of where our needs are, and we'll get all that worked out.
we have those very discussions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
It's always good when we see an increase in enrollment.
Yes.
It's positive.
And the number at Brownstone's impressive, I think, too, for preschool.
Thank you, Ms. Heather.
Miss Willis is out of town, but I did want to, there were two things that I wanted to mention, or she wanted me to make sure I mentioned in her reports, is how excited we are on our August 5th PD Day. I would like to invite all of you to join us that morning if you're able. We are going to have just a really great presentation starting at 8:15 if you're able to come just for that morning. talk. The Commissioner of Education is also going to be joining us virtually to give a welcome back to our staff. So we'd love for you all to come, and again, if you all could come at lunch, we would like to have you. And if there's any sessions, if you would just like to come attend, there's sessions, lots of instructional based sessions, but there's also a lot on social emotional learning. There's a lot on trauma. There's a lot on self-care for our teachers. You know, how do you make sure that you avoid burnout? We have some sessions about sick days, making sure that you see the value in your sick days as you're nearing retirement. And this is for our young teachers as well, saving those days and how that impacts you in your whole career. So we'd love to invite you all to come August the 5th for that. And another important budgetary item is the state legislature did approve for districts to receive additional gifted and talented money this year. So we will be receiving an additional $20,000 to support that program. So we're excited about that and what that's going to look like for our gifted and talented students.
And do we have a teacher in that position?
We have hired a teacher in that position, Miss Starla Binge.
Okay. That's good.
She'll do,
She'll be
she'll
very
do
good at
great.
that
Yeah,
job.
that's what I just said. She'll do great. Yeah.
Next, I guess, school safety. We're in the midst of trainings, just like everybody else, scheduling trainings. I have scheduled active shooter training with KSP for the week of August 8th through the 11th. We had that the last time in 2018, obviously with all of the attention and the things that are happening in our world. I feel like it's important to have that again. So we'll be having that. They'll be leading that. We're happy to have them and looking forward to that. We're also doing threat assessment training with our principals. We're doing gatekeeper training with our secretaries. And then just today, Mr. Tom, Ms. Ballinger and I met with Joe Rush and Brian, and we finalized the hiring of another SRO. So we will have half of our campuses covered at the beginning of school. So we're happy about that and working toward fulfilling the requirements of that law. The only other thing I would add, you can see there in my report, I want to give a plug for online registration. That has to be done every year, and it is very important. Most parents can go in and it takes a while to click through. But if you've done that in the past, then you just have to update. If you need to change your address, phone number, whatever, pick up list. But that is very important. That information, when we need to get in touch with parents, super important to make sure that everything is correct on there. So I would encourage folks to do that as soon as possible. We've already got, at this point, we're about 15% of our parents have done that. Last year at this time, I don't even think we'd opened it up. So we're ahead of the game, but I'd like by August 1st to get a whole lot more completed. So that's an ongoing process.
And it's so much better than the old days of trying to do paper for 2 kids, and it's kudos to everybody that's made that happen.
And before you had to fill out the same enrollment form for 3 kids. So it was a lot. Now it's just that one online form and you're done.
Oh, they don't have, there's no other forms at all?
Well, there's other.
Because now, because I remember last year, there were more forms.
But on the enrollment form, this replaces the enrollment form. So, they're still,
Okay.
you're still,
Come on.
August 17th, you're gonna get some forms coming up.
I go by the time
This will be one
Carabella
less.
graduates.
This will be one
it's all
less.
online. So, I had asked Ms. Carey, there's already been someone hired for SRO.
Yes, we're super excited. He will be in with us August 1st.
August 1st.
So I'm very excited about, you think last year we didn't have an SRO, and now we've got 2, so we're continuing to. And I think it'll.
Have we heard anything about that grant?
No, that's the
August.
almost $1 million question, but we hope that.
It is $1 million question.
We hope by August. I know there's a lot of school districts applied for that grant.
Sure.
Because of
Probably
the
every school
circumstance.
district that knew about it's going to apply
So
for it.
we're hoping and praying.
Jenny, do you have anything?
I just wanted to have a few notes here for you. We are, working on our year end, for the current fiscal year. The unaudited, AFR is due to KDE on the 25th. So lots of, checks and balances to be done, to begin to, close out our current fiscal year. So we'll be, processing that, and we'll provide an update to you once that's complete. Our annual audit, we have our date set for, our audit the week of September the 19th with Shad Allen. Of course, at this time of year, we've talked about some of the updates that we make as far as salary tables have to be updated, budgets have to be updated, lots and lots of updates. So we're working through all of those areas currently to get our first payroll out the door for July. And we are also in the process of Miss Jenny Ellis has assumed the role of payroll clerk, and she is currently completing training. Miss Leslie Rigsby's training with her, and they both are working really well together, and that's all going really well. So we're very pleased that both of them are doing everything to ensure that we continue a seamless process.
Now, they're over here now, is that correct?
Yes, currently, yes.
And I have to ask, and this is probably a sore subject to you, what about the FEMA money? Have you ever heard anything else?
Well, I have reached out to
It's
our
on the way.
state contact. I still want a big check, because we've waited so long. I want one of those big ones you like printed out, $250,000, but we have not received any update. I have reached out to our state contact, and
I was just wondering if you ever got a letter or anything from them,
I'll let you know. I will be very disappointed if we continue not hearing anything. But I don't know. I hope that someone waves that magic wand and sends our funds on down to us.
Yeah.
But we'll let you know just as soon as we have an update, and I'll keep checking on it.
I thought about that earlier today. I was looking at your notes and stuff. I was like,
Yep, I'll keep asking until they tell us no. So.
Thank you, Ms. Jen. Ms. Jennifer.
If you all want to pull up my report, every day I'm learning more and more and more. There's a lot that happens in the summertime to get ready to serve food to kids, breakfast and lunch in the fall. And I'll just tell this little story on myself. I woke up in a panic the past 2 nights thinking, we're not going to have milk or bread because I hadn't gotten anything, any contracts or any information. And literally that has kept me awake at night, but we are. It's going to be fun. I'm worried about that. There will be a few updates in, foods, a transition like in terms of how much sodium you can have in your food and how much you can include, and but basically the waivers that we have enjoyed for the past couple of years due to COVID will be extended through next June. We thought that those were going to end in June of 22, but they did not. They've been extended, so we're pretty excited about that. And included in those waivers, I mean, there are going to be some flexibilities in terms of food. If we can't get something, a certain item, and we'll be able to substitute that a little bit easier than if those restrictions were in place, if we didn't have those waivers. We'll be able to serve in more congregate settings. So let's say we have an outage, NTI. If we had a day like that and we needed to serve food in our community, that waiver would allow us to do that. We could go to those community sites and serve in non-congregate settings, and parents would be able to pick up food for their kids. So that's what those waivers allow. And in case you hear that we are not going to have free lunch, I've had several calls, and there have been rumors in the community that has been eliminated, that we're not going to have free lunch. That is not applying to us. or to anyone else who has had free lunch for the past couple of years. There are districts in our country that have enjoyed that benefit because of COVID. So that was the big issue at the national level, that they were gonna cut that out and those districts would not be able to have that. That doesn't apply to us. We are a CEP school and we have been, district, and we have been since 2015. So we will continue to have free lunch for as long as we qualify for that. So if anybody asks you, are we not having free lunch? Yes, we will still enjoy the benefit of that. And I'm so thankful for that. Because our students will all receive free breakfast and free lunch. So our goal for the coming year is to make sure that we have healthy, safe lunches that are appealing for our students. And part of that is going into planning our professional development for staff. So we've got several days that those cooks are going to be together, and one of those days will be at the high school. And I've contacted some vendors that are going to come in and prepare some new things that our cooks will be able to try, and maybe we can include those in our menu items. Also planning on some taste tests with students, getting some students involved and letting us know what they like to eat and what they want, what they enjoy, and do more surveys like that so that we can include them in that process. And maybe we want that meal time to be something that students enjoy. We want a high level of customer satisfaction. We want them to be glad that they chose that lunch today and didn't bring their own or elected not to eat at all. We know that those meals are some of the only ones that some kids have all day. So I'm excited about the new year, just trying to prepare for all of that. And there are a lot of moving wheels, a lot of moving parts in food service that I didn't know about. So that's what I'm doing right now.
And I'll say Miss Jennifer has just absolutely hit the ground running and jumped in and has dug in and learned so much, and we're thankful for how hard she's working and just so committed to our schools and our students. So thank you, Miss Jennifer.
She's been committed for a long, long time.
Yeah.
No. Food service is a brand new role.
It's a brand new role. It is nothing like anything I have had to do before. So
I was looking at the ending balance for food service, and I thought that number was a little higher than normal, isn't it? So that's a good thing. It makes it
that's
look.
not me. It makes me
Well,
look good.
but go ahead and take the credit.
That's Miss Jamie. But I'll tell you, every month, I mean, you have to, there are certain things you have to do online. You have to download information and you have to upload it so that you can make claims for reimbursement. And if those aren't done on time, then you're not going to get reimbursed for those meals that you can be reimbursed for. And I think one number, I'll talk longer than you. In our total meals, we also had longest day of play on June 21st at the middle school, and we prepared and served 300 meals just on that one night to students. So that was something pretty impressive. They prepared that.
And it was 100
Yeah.
degrees outside. It
Oh,
was
it was
so
hot,
hot.
wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was very hot.
I'm proud that they worked really hard to get that done. I'm sure that.
So it's hard to believe that we're getting ready to go hook up desktop computers, but as the janitors are finishing with floors, we're getting ready to start hooking up teacher computers and start getting things hooked up and ready for school. That's where we are. So we won't be doing that next week. Definitely next week we'll be hooking up some. Y'all know we signed a new contract with Canon for new copiers. So we have this week finished and set up is 23 Canon copiers. They weren't ready for the board meeting, but they're ready today, Jimmy. So 23 new Canon copiers throughout the whole district. So that whole contract is all on the same timeline. Lots of better things. Really, it seems like really nice equipment. Lots of features teachers have asked for a couple of years that we couldn't offer with our old copiers. So I'm really excited about that, and everything being the same will help us. Ink being the same. If we need to share a toner, it got hard to trade toner. If we need to share a toner, we can share toner. It ain't like we have the different kind of toner for each printer like we used to, each copier. So we've got that. We have the RUS grant, so the interactive flat panels. Remember, we got $1 million grant from the high school and middle school. Those will be installed at the high school the week of August, the first week of August. Those are 42 75-inch interactive flat panels. I call them interactive flat panels. If you saw them, they would look like TVs, but they're not TVs. They don't have cable hookups or anything, but they hook up to computers. They also have a computer in the back, so it'll be mounted to the wall. They have a computer behind them, just a mini computer that hooks straight into that, so it all runs. It can show their Google Drive, it can show their presentations, it can show the document camera. It's replacing their projectors. So high school and middle schools will have projectors. We won't do the middle schools yet. We won't do the middle schools until we get a new school, but that should help us on some of that cost. Once we do that, each classroom, each library, classroom, elementary schools are also getting a cart with dual 75-inch flat panels on it for their library. So they have a new impressive piece of technology in each library. And then there's a few more of those as well. So that's a big deal. Vocational schools getting new ones as well. Academies getting new ones as well. We're doing those now. We're just not, middle school library will get one now because it's on a cart, but not each classroom. So they'll still have projectors. We'll support those until we get into middle school. We had a big server go down. I spent part of Saturday night working on a server and taking it apart and troubleshooting with Dell. A Dell rep came today and brought a couple different parts and we got that back up, so that was a big deal. We have a training next Monday with digital learning coaches. So we pay now the $500 stipends to digital learning coaches. We have one at each school. So there's a training in Pulaski County. It's called a Teach Meet, but it's a training for free that's offered by teachers for teachers from all of our region. So, and even some from other regions will travel. So those people will go to that training next Monday. So it'll be a good training. I've been to that before, but there used to be one in the state. It was in Bowling Green. So I've been to that before in Bowling Green. It's really nice just to drive to Pulaski County. So, and then the last thing, I think I have some more things on my list if you have questions, but I did want to say that we have not received funding for hotspots. So we were denied that funding. We still hope that the funding source has just been depleted. So we hope that there's a chance that they'll have another funding source at some point. But at this point, right now, we won't have hotspots for students. Most of the time, since COVID's slowing down, we won't have that need like we did. But just so we know that, just so y'all know that, we won't have those next year unless we were to receive funding. We do apply. If we can get it, we'll get it. But right now, we're not. I think that's all I have. We're still cleaning Chromebooks and getting them ready. They're almost all ready. Got some good help this summer, pulling off stickers and cleaning them and fixing them. And we've got a stack of about 200 that are broken that will get fixed. But as we go through them, so it's a long process. It's been a long summer. Lots of work. So maybe we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's all I have from the show.
Good to see you.
Good.
I wasn't going to be here tonight, and then I just said I was going to be here. So Kayla was already here.
It's good to have you here.
Brandon, what is the cost of the hotspots? Like if we had to pay it out of pocket?
It's quite a bit. I don't know.
That's fine.
I hate to quote it, but it's per hotspot. We had like 220. So you're talking about a monthly payment for a year per hotspot. We didn't even apply for the hotspot funding themselves because we have the devices. We only applied for the monthly service contract this time because last time we got everything. But so it wouldn't be as much, but you're still talking $30 or $40 per hotspot per family.
There's still availability like in the parking lots.
They're still available in the
Yes.
parking lot.
And maybe local businesses, some of them had offered that too, right? So that's still there.
And you know, our Wi-Fi now shoots like at the middle school. You can get Wi-Fi now at the football field.
Okay.
So I mean, it
So
shoots
that's
that
still
whole big
available.
parking lot. Mount Vernon shoots there. Of course, you may not want to park there near.
That's what they did
construction.
originally, right? Like at the
Yeah.
beginning of the
Yes.
pandemic. Okay.
And there's less of that. I'm in home all day or I'm in home all week. You know what I mean? They'll have their Chromebooks at school and for all, you know, we're concerned, I'm sure, about RTI days or but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we can maybe get funding. Hopefully there'll be some more money we can do that. But I did want to say a lot of our community members do depend on that a little bit.
Yes.
So I didn't want to mention.
You have some new employees I saw on her.
Got some new employees. So Kayla is now a computer specialist. She was computer operator before. And then Eric Jordison is a computer specialist. So he started July 1. He's working, and then Cliff had worked for me before, but he was a substitute, and we worked him as we could. But now he's a computer operator And then we lowered his days down a little bit, so that position's not, it's full, it's 205 days. So it's less days than Kayla was before. Kayla was 248 before. She's still 248. I can't let her be less days.
I was just curious, about the name, so that helps with
Yeah.
the title,
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Cliff is computer operator, and it'll be great. It'll be great. And they're already, Eric is doing great already, and we're excited. And we got a couple more. I got Mr. Eli Cook is helping me this summer. He's doing pretty great. And then I have another Kara is helping, and she's maybe gonna be a co-op student when school starts back from vocational school. So got a couple more. Lots of good help.
Thank you, Brenda. Mr. Cook, did you have anything?
Really don't have anything new to add for this month. Things will, of course, ramp up next month quite a bit, but do appreciate the district getting us some of those really nice televisions and interactive televisions. That's gonna be neat in our classrooms, and copier. Got to play with that a little bit today, thanks to Kayla. And it's a little more high tech than probably I can manage, but
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Ms. Carey?
Just want to say, as always, thank you all for what you do to support Rockcastle County Schools, and everybody in this room is just working hard every day to get ready for school to start in August. So we'll be here very quickly.
Very fast. Matt,
I
anything?
don't think I have anything.
I don't, no, thank you all for working hard through the summer. I know that's probably hard to do. I mean, when I get out there, and I know you've been working really, really hard, so, thank you.
I had one parent contact me, and I had actually read something, with the emails that we've received. Are we adding any safety measures concerning backpacks?
Currently, we are not.
Okay, I was asked by this one particular parent, and I said that I would ask you all, so. And besides that, I don't have anything. I'd like to thank everybody. Hope everyone's having a good summer. I'm excited about another SRO. I think it's great. The middle school, it's exciting, I think a lot of great things for Rockcastle County kids is in the future, so I appreciate all of you all very much. I know you work very hard, a whole lot harder than we realize, and we were talking about the mental health. I'd ask you if you felt confident, and the reason I asked you that is because I have a lot of confidence in you all, and when you tell me something, I feel like I can take your opinion at face value of what's best for our kids, and I want all of you all to know that I don't take your opinions for granted. I do. I value them. So thank you very much for your hard work. Ms. Carey, I thank you. And with that, I'd like a motion for us to adjourn.
Second.